Hi, everyone. I'm Dorothea Hendricks, your communication coach in presentation skills and the art of speaking. I'm so excited today. We have a special guest. I know you've heard me say that before. All my guests are special, but this one is really, he's a cool dude. He's a real cool dude. And so let me share with you a little bit about him. We're going to welcome Nelson Soh today, who is a certified, see, he's waving, Nelson is a certified numbers guru and a financial literacy expert, and he's a chartered professional accountant, a CPA. Now, Nelson has a mission, and his mission here is to help the world, help people out there, you and me, understand money and how it works and how we can make it work for us instead of us always working for it. So in order to do that, we need to understand money. And in that regard, what Nelson did is he did a video. He did a TEDx talk. If you haven't seen his TEDx talk, I really encourage you, get onto YouTube, Nelson Soh, Financial Literacy and a Social Media Generation. That talk is basically all about creating an awareness of how important it is to be financially literate. And Nelson has helped thousands of people improve their financial situation. In fact, I'm going to say he does, and he is having a global impact. Now, Nelson has served as a consultant for many public traded companies, private organizations, financial institutions, sports organizations, educational institutions, and the list goes on. Nelson is a really enthusiastic fitness buff. When you meet him in person, he is fit. He looks amazing. He's amazing on screen, and he looks even better when you see him in person. He's a best-selling author, and he is an avid real estate investor. So Nelson, welcome, welcome, welcome.
What an introduction. Thank you so much, Dorothea.
Well, every bit of it is true. I mean, I was there. In fact, I want to let people know that I was one of the coaches that Nelson had, in his great TEDx talk. So that's my plug for me, and it's a plug for Nelson as well. So Nelson, I have a question for you, and this is something that's been on my mind for a while. In your talk, you mentioned the term financial freedom. Now, financial freedom, commercials, anything that has anything to do with money, financial freedom is what they talk about or shout that out. Can you define what is financial freedom, the definition of it in your term, and what does financial freedom mean to you?
Absolutely. Personally, I actually don't like the term financial freedom. I prefer to call it financial independence. And the reason for that is because I believe that when people achieve financial independence, they're no longer reliant on the things that they would have to do to work for their money. Like their money is effectively working for them. So that to me is how people can achieve that independence, and how can people get there, because it is a lot more achievable than people think.
Well, and that's interesting. I like financial independence. It takes me off in my mind in a different direction, right? As opposed to financial freedom that I can't really get a grasp on. But so thinking in terms of financial independence here, let's take and you've had these people already as clients, people who are in enormous debt. They have a lot of debt, and you tell them, you can be financially independent. We can do a few things here to help you get out of debt and get on that road, to feeling better about yourself and about understanding how money works. How do you get that into a person, help them build their confidence when they're a sinking ship? They're just overwhelmed with all the debt and their money issues around them. What's one step that you would take to help them?
That's a really great question. I think a lot of people that I work with, they feel that the debt that they've taken on is just so insurmountable. Like they'll never get out of it, right? There's so much, it could be credit card debt, it could be lines of credit, mortgages, car loans, student loan debt. There's so many different forms of consumer debt that people can take on. And I think the first step is sorting it out, like which debt is actually good debt, so debt that's actually serving you in a positive way, and which debt is effectively called bad debt, which is not serving you, that you need to eliminate faster. And once you can identify the two, it really changes the psychology of how you think about debt. Because we're brought up to think that debt is a bad thing, but not all debt is actually bad. So if you're somebody who views your house as an asset, a mortgage could actually be really good debt for you because it increases the value of your net worth, your equity. Whereas something like maybe a car loan that stretches you to live beyond your means might be a bad debt that you're paying excessive amounts of interest on that you really shouldn't be taking on.
So that would be one of the first things that you're going to tell people is what kind of debt, or help them understand what kind of debt they actually have. In your TEDx talk, financial literacy and the social media generation, which I really encourage anyone anywhere to go onto YouTube, as I said earlier, and go have a look and listen to what Nelson has to say, because Nelson is coming from the place where he was in debt and found his way out. So Nelson, that video that you did, the TEDx talk that you did, your key message, if you had to take one or two sentences and put them, what is your key message in that video for people?
Great question. I said it a few times in my TEDx talk. If I had to put it in one line, financial literacy is non-negotiable. And that to me means that it's your job to understand and become financially literate. People always say, you know, in the systems, in the formal systems, we're not taught about financial literacy, how to handle money, but that's not really an excuse, right? So when I work with people around financial literacy, I get real with them really quick. So I kind of hit them across the head and say, what type of debt are you taking on? Where's your financial situation? What are your goals? How are you going to get there? And when people say, I don't know, I don't understand, I wasn't taught how to budget, well, let's help you figure it out, right? It's your job to understand this and to learn this so you can put yourself and your family in the best financial position possible.
And that's the message. That's the message that you've got. And that's the message I think that I hear from you every time I speak with you. And I've listened to your talk as well. And I was there in person, you know, listening to your talk. That is so important. And I think a key thing here is responsibility. As you say, we weren't taught, many people weren't taught, they don't know, their parents didn't know, and you're just kind of going along the same road. And one day, there you are, you find yourself in a situation that you'd rather not be in regarding money. But what I hear from you is that, yes, you can get out of it, but you can get out of it when you take a grip on your own responsibility, that now, no matter what the situation was before you, you've got to grab hold of it and you can deal with it. And you are a resource to help people deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. I mean, there's just so much. I have a lot more questions. And for people out there listening to this interview, I'm going to just say, really, again, if you haven't seen Nelson's video, go watch it, because it is really, really important, and it will give you a lot of ideas, and it will also introduce you to Nelson as a person maybe that you can go to help you with your finances if you find yourself just into overwhelm and don't know where to turn. If you are interested in having a bit more insight into Nelson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this interview. Some of this will be on LinkedIn, but much of this is going to be on YouTube, because on YouTube, we're going to dive into depth in a few more questions to find out more about Nelson and some of the things that he could do to actually help you in your situation if you are in debt. And even if you're not, and you just want to know what your money can do for you, Nelson is the man to talk